classes that comes under the plant kingdom. So already we saw about algae and then bryophytes. So the remaining type of plants that come under the plant kingdom are pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. So today we'll see in detail about the pteridophytes. So before going into in detail about the pteridophytes, we will discuss in what ways the pteridophytes differ from algae and bryophytes. So there occurs a gradual transition from the aquatic to the terrestrial forms. For example, if you take algae, the algae is purely aquatic. Most of the algae are aquatic, or at least they live in the damp areas. And also the body is not much differentiated. That is, it is a thalloid-like body. And then when we come to the next category, that is bryophytes, there occurs a slight transition that they are able to live on the land. But they are also restricted to some narrow geographic location because of the need for water, because they don't have the conducting tissues. There are no conducting tissues like xylem and phloem. So there is a slow transition. So today we'll see about the pteridophytes. So what are pteridophytes? So what type of plants that comes under pteridophytes? So here mainly we can say, or we can call it as vascular cryptogams. Vascular cryptogams. Generally, cryptogams are the type of plants in which they have the hidden reproductive organs. That is, there won't be any visible reproductive organs outside. These algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes all come under the category of cryptogams. So here the pteridophytes are called vascular cryptogams. So what do you mean by this vascular cryptogams? There is a slow evolution. That is, they contain the vascular tissues. That is, xylem and phloem is present in pteridophytes. But bryophytes are called non-vascular cryptogams. Non-vascular cryptogams. So yesterday we saw about the bryophytes in detail. They are non-vascular cryptogams, but these pteridophytes are called vascular cryptogams. So this is the main difference. That is, they have the vascular tissues. So while studying the next chapter about the tissues, we'll study in detail about the vascular or the conducting tissues, xylem and phloem, and about the vessels and the different types of cells like Panion cells and the other type of cells that are present in xylem and phloem. So here just you know that the vascular tissues are xylem and phloem. Here the pteridophytes, they have the vascular tissues, so they are called vascular cryptogams, and they include horsetails and ferns. So they come under the category of pteridophytes. And still they found in cool, damp, shady places, and some flourish well in sandy soil conditions. So they exist in cool, damp or shady places. Though they exist in the sandy soil conditions also, where they need water for fertilization. So their presence is restricted only to some geographical areas. They will not be seen everywhere. So you know the ferns, which are used as the ornamental plants everywhere, and they come under the category of pteridophytes. So they found in cool, damp, shady places, and some flourish well in sandy soil conditions. So evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess the vascular tissues. So now they are becoming the terrestrial plants, slowly from aquatic to terrestrial plants, and they have the xylem and phloem. And here also they have the well developed. So if you see the algae, thalloid body, that is, there is no differentiation into root, stem or leaves. And if you see the bryophytes, they have the thalloid, like, or you can say false roots, stem and leaves. So here there is an advancement of the evolution. Here they have the true root, stem and leaves. So there occurs a slow transition. And if you take the type of root, the main type of roots that are present are adventitious roots here. Adventitious roots are present here. So you see the economic importance. So these pteridophytes are of wide occurrence, but mainly they are grown as an ornamental plants because if you see these ferns, they are the common examples for pteridophytes, and they are grown everywhere as an ornamental plant. They don't have the seeds or the flower or the fruit, non-flowering plants. They are used as soil binders, and also they are used for medicinal purposes. So these are the main importance of pteridophytes. So most of the ornamental plants that comes under the category of pteridophytes. So in the case of pteridophytes, the dominant phase is the pteridophyte, the dominant phase is a sporophyte. So we saw yesterday that in the case of bryophytes, the dominant phase is a gametophyte. So we saw what is a gametophyte and what is a sporophyte in the case of bryophytes. So here if you see the plant body, that what we are seeing outside, this plant is mostly a sporophytic plant body. So the dominant phase is a sporophyte, and this is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. So here that is one of the main evolution in the case of pteridophytes. So true root, stem, and leaves. And these organs are well differentiated vascular tissues. So they help in the conduction of water and other nutrients. Conduction of water and other nutrients. Xylem and phloem. And if you take the leaves, so if you take the root, so well differentiated root, mostly it is an adventitious roots, and then proper stem for conduction, and also they have the proper leaves, and leaves in Pteridophyta are small, that is microphyles, as in Selaginella. So Selaginella is one of the example, Selaginella and ferns, and the leaves may be small as in Selaginella or large as in ferns. So the leaves are small microphyls. You can call it as microphyllous and macrophyllous leaves. So macrophyllous in the case of ferns, the leaves are large, and in case of Selaginella, the leaves are small. So these are about the root and the leaves in pteridophytes. And if you take the reproduction, these sporophytes bear sporangia. That is, they have these structures that are called sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophytes. So if you take the leaves, in the case of pteridophytes, one is the sporophyll and another one is called tropophyll. So what are these? The tropophills are the normal type of leaves that is involved in photosynthesis. They carry out the process of photosynthesis, that is called tropophyll. And what is a sporophyll? It contains the reproductive structures. For example, sporangia, reproductive structures are present in the boxal side of the leaf. That is, under the leaf, they have the structures that is called the sporangia. Reproductive structures are present. So the sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by the leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. So in the leaf-like structures, that is sporophyll, they contain the sporangia. So they contain the reproductive structures. In some cases, sporophylls form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. So these sporophylls, so there will be leaves, and at the end or the tip of the stem, instead of leaves, they are modified into structures called strobili or cones. Examples for the strobiles, that is plants with cones or strobili or Selaginella and Equisetum. They contain cones. So these are the main examples. For example, here this A structure. So if you see, you have the proper roots here. Proper roots are present, and they have the proper leaves and also stem, and the type of roots here is the adventitious roots. So A is the Selaginella, which is one of the example for a pteridophyte, and B is an Equisetum. is Equisetum, and C, this is a fern, and D is Salvinia. So we saw that in the case of Selaginella and Equisetum, so this is the strobili or the cone-like structures. So some of the leaves, they are modified into cones at the tip of the stem. So this is in the case of Equisetum, and they have the rhizoids. Here in the roots, they have the rhizoids. And these are the main examples for pteridophytes. So next, we'll see in detail about how the reproduction is taking place. So the sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. Actually, yesterday we saw in detail about the reproduction in bryophytes. There also almost a similar process, that is, we saw what are spore mother cells and how the spores are formed. So the sporangia produce spores. So how the spores are produced? By meiosis. Reduction division is happening and it forms spores. In where it is happening? In spore mother cells. These spores germinate to give an inconspicuous, small, multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic, thalloid gametophyte called prothallus. So here the first gametophyte that is formed is called the prothallus. But in the case of bryophytes mosses, we saw that the first gametophyte formed is called the protonyma. Hope you are clear with it. In case of mosses, that is bryophytes, it is protonyma. Here the term is prothallus. Prothallus in the case of pteridophytes. So you just differentiate between the terms that comes under the different types. So here the spore first germinate to form prothallus. So what is prothallus? It is a multicellular free living, that is, it is able to live freely. It is not dependent on any other structures, and they are able to photosynthesize on its own. And thalloid, there is no proper differentiation into leaves like so thalloid gametophyte called prothallus. Okay. Then this prothallus, it requires the cool, damp, shady places to grow. So still, though it is a terrestrial plant, but it needs a cool, damp, shady places to grow, and it cannot grow in a, so it is restricted to some places where there is a little water. It cannot grow anywhere. And also it needs water for fertilization. So water for fertilization. So this type of fertilization is called, that yesterday itself we saw, that is zoidogamy. That is, the male gamete will swim, so it requires water for fertilization to reach the female gametophyte. So the spread of pteridophytes is limited and is restricted to narrow geographical regions. So I hope you're clear with it, since they are dependent on water. Then gametophyte. So the first gametophyte that is formed from the spore is the prothallus. So this gametophyte bear male and the female sex organs. That is, male sex organ is called antheridia and the female sex organ is called archegonia respectively. So here, and like in the case of bryophytes, what will happen? This antheridium, it will dehisce and it release the anthrozoid. Anthrozoid is the male gamete, and the water is needed for the transfer of anthrozoid, that is the male gamete, from antheridia to the mouth of archegonium. So it is similar to the in masses. So this anthrozoid, what will happen? It needs the water. So in the presence of water, it swims and reaches the mouth of the archegonium. So anthrozoid fuses with the egg in the archegonium to form a zygote. So first it forms a zygote, and this zygote develops into multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte. So it forms a sporophytic plant body. So these are the main processes that are occurring in the case of sexual reproduction, and it is of the oogamous type because only the male gamete is motile and the female gamete is non-motile. So this is the oogamous type. And also it shows both haploid and diploid etc. So you'll see in detail how the alternation of generation is happening here in pteridophytes. And also most of the pteridophytes, they produce similar kind of spores. That is the spores that are produced from the sporangia are similar, same type of spores. Then they are called the homosporous plant, or you can call it as monoecious. Mostly the plant will look. So what do you mean by monoecious and dioecious? Monoecious means if both the male and the female reproductive organs are present in the same plant, then that is called monoecious. And if the male and reproductive organs are present in the different plant, then that is called the dioecious. So in the case of homosporous plants, mostly it will be monoecious. That is, they have both the male and the female organs in the same plant. They produce similar kinds of spores. The spores produced will be of same kind. But here in the case of heterosporous plant, what is happening? They produce two kinds of spores. One is called the macrospore or the megaspore, and other spore is called the microspores or the small spores. Here the examples are again Salaginella and Salvinia. They produce. So these examples are more important. They may ask what type of plant produces heterosporous spores. So you be clear with the examples. So here the heterosporous plants, they are dioecious. That is, they have the separate male and the female reproductive organ on different plants. For example, if it is a megaspore, it gives rise to the female gametophyte, and the microspore, it gives rise to male gametophyte. So they are dioecious. Megaspores and the microspores, they germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. So I hope you're clear with this. So there are two types of spores, and in the case of leaves also we saw two types of leaves. That is, some will have the larger leaves and some will have the smaller leaves. That is microphyllous and macrophyllous. See, the spores that are produced are of two kinds, microspores and megaspores. The microspores germinate to male gametophyte and the megaspores germinate with the female gametophyte. So the female gametophyte are retained on the parent sporophyte. So inside the parent, this female gametophyte will be retained for variable periods. For a long time, they will be retained. So as a result, so within the gametophyte, the zygote develop into an embryo. Zygote forms an embryo, and this is a precursor to seed habit. Actually, in the case of pteridophyte, they don't produce seeds. The seed production happens only in gymnosperms. So this is an evolved. What they are saying, from this, it is evolving into the seed formation in the case of gymnosperms. So within the female gametophyte, zygote, they develop into an embryo, and this event is a precursor to seed habit, and it is considered as an important step in evolution. So we'll see first, for example, the plant body is a sporophyte. Because it is a sporophytic plant body, or we can say it is a diploid. So sporophyte is the sporophytic generation is 2n. So what happens here? They have the sporophylls. This is also diploid. And the sporangia are present in structures, that is, these sporangia are present under the leaf-like structures that is called the sporophylls. So sporophylls contain sporangia. And the spore mother cells are present in sporangia, spore mother cells. And this spore mother cells, they'll produce spores. So here, after spore mother cells by meiosis, that is reduction division, it forms spores. Here all these are diploid phase. So here the production of spores is a haploid. So here what it starts, the gametophytic phase or the haploid. So this spore, it develops into gametophyte. Gametophyte, or in the case of pteridophyte, the first gametophyte that is formed is called the prothallus. Prothallus, and the gametophyte may be either they contain the male sex organ, that is antheridia, which is N, and this gametophyte is also N, that is haploid, and the female sex organ, that is archegonia. Then what happens? This antheridia dehisces and forms anthrozoid. It forms anthrozoid, and the archegonia contains egg. So this anthrozoid, it swims in the presence of water and it reaches the egg which is present in the archegonia. So they form zygote. Here 2N. So all these are haploid. From spores, gametophyte or the prothallus, which is the first primary structure that is formed, and this gametophyte may either have the male sex organ, that is antheridia, or the female sex organ, archegonia. And then this antheridia dehisces and releases anthrozoid. This anthrozoid is actually, in the case of bryophytes, we saw it is biflagellate. So here mostly it is multiflagellate, except Selaginella, where it is biflagellate. But mostly multiflagellated anthrozoids are present in the case of Pteridophytes, except Selaginella. So it fuses and forms zygote. Then zygote forms embryo. Then it develops into a sporophytic plant body, zygote. So here N, that is the from spore, and here to the gametes here. So this is the gametophytic generation. So here down it is gametophytic generation. And here it is sporophytic generation. So I hope you are clear with this. So first, so the main plant body is a sporophyte. It is well differentiated. It is a multicellular structure, and it is well differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. And they have these sporophylls, and sporangia are present in the structures that are called the sporophylls or the leaf-like structures. And then spore mother cells are present in sporangia, and these spore mother cells undergo meiosis and produce haploid spores, and these spores develop into the gametophytic plant body, which is also called prothallus. And this gametophyte may contain either the male sex organ, that is antheridia, or the female sex organ, archegonia. And then this antheridia, it produces anthrozoid, and this anthrozoid, it fuses with the egg present in the archegonia to form a zygote, and zygote forms an embryo. This embryo, it develops into one sporophytic plant body. So there occurs an alternation of generations. So here also it is haplodiplontic life cycle, but the more prominent phase here is the sporophytic phase. In the case of bryophytes, we saw that the dominant phase is the gametophytic phase, but here it is the sporophytic phase, haplodiplontic life cycle. because most of the plant body it exists in the diploid state, and also this sporophytic plant body is not it is an independent, so it is not dependent on the gametophyte. So gametophytic phase, so the prothallus soon it disintegrates and it develops into a sporophytic plant body, and this sporophytic plant body is able to function independently. They can photosynthesize and also they can absorb the water and nutrients, everything they can do on its own. So it is a sporophytic phase is more dominant. But if you take the bryophytes, the sporophytic phase is dependent on the gametophytic phase. Though in some species they can partially photosynthesize, they need the support of the gametophytic plant body for the absorption of nutrients. But here they are independent. So independent sporophytic phase is seen in the case of pteridophytes. So I hope you are clear with this. Yeah, this is about the life cycle of pteridophytes. And there are several classes that comes under pteridophytes. One is Psilopsida. So the Psilopsida is also called as ancient vascular plants. And the only example that comes under Psilopsida is Psilotum, which is also called a living fossil. So all ancient vascular plants that comes under the class Psilopsida. And then Lycopsida, which includes Selaginella and Lycopodium. So Selaginella is also called little club moss or spike moss or bird's nest moss. And this Lycopodium is called common club moss. And here the plant body is differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. And also leaves are called tropophylls. That is the main type of leaves are tropophylls here. And this sporophylls, they will form the structures that is strobilus or cones. We saw that some leaves, they modify to form the strobilus or cones, and they are present in this class like Lycopsida. So they have this type of leaves that is tropophylls, which are the leaves involved in photosynthetic activity, and they have the modified leaf structures called strobilus or cone. And then if you take Spinopsida, the main example is Equisetum. Here also there exists the cone. And there will be the presence of silica. That is, silica is present in the epidermis of stem and leaves. So because of the presence of silica on the surface of the stem and leaves, they are rough and they can easily catch fire. So they are responsible for the forest fire, and also because of the presence of silica on its surface. So they also form the cone-like structures or the strobilus. This is about Spinopsida. And then Pteropsida. This Pteropsida actually they form the largest group of pteridophytes. That is the many plants that comes under the category of Pteropsida. And here the ferns, the common example ferns, it comes under the Pteropsida. And here they have the leaves that is called the fronds. They are macrophyllous. They are, in the case of ferns, the leaves are, we saw that in the case of ferns, the leaves are large and they are called the macrophyllous leaves. And these leaves are called fronds. And in the case of some pteridophytes, there occurs in structures that is called ramenta. What are those ramenta? They are the multicellular hair-like structures. the young leaf. And young rhizome. Of ferns. So this ramata are nothing but the multicellular hair-like structures that are present in the young leaf and young rhizome or the stem of the ferns. That is called the ramata for protection. So these hairs, they protect the leaves and the rhizome. And the main examples that comes under are Triopteris, Adiantum, and Teres, and also Azolla. You could have heard about Azolla. Azolla is also called aquatic fern because it is present in water and it is also used as a biofertilizer. And this Adiantum is called the walking fern. So why are we calling it as a walking furnace? Because of its rapid vegetative phase. So rapid vegetative reproduction that occurs and rapid multiplication of this adiantum. So it is called the walking fern. And then terrace. So these are the main examples that comes under this classes. So under Pteridophytes, Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Spinopsida, and Pteropsida. So Psilopsida is called the ancient vascular. So all the ancient vascular plants that comes under the category of Psilopsida. An example is Psilotum, which is called the living fossil. And under Lycopsida, Selaginella and Lycopodium. So Selaginella is also called little club moss or spike moss or bird's nest moss. And Lycopodium is also called common club moss. So they have the structures called tropophils, and also these sporophils are modified into strobilus or the cone-like structures. And in the case of Spinopsida, they also have the modified cone-like structures, equisetum, and the epidermis of the stem and leaves have the silica. So these silica actually, it makes the surface so rough, and this is one of the reasons for the fire. In the case of if when two plants they rub together, that may cause the fire. And then Pteropsida, it includes ferns, Triopteris, Adiantum, and Teres. So the macrophyllous leaves that are present in the ferns are called fronds, and ramata are the multicellular hair-like structures in the young leaf and young rhizome of ferns for protection. And Azolla is the aquatic fern, and Adiantum is called the walking fern. So hope you're clear with this. So under Pteridophytes, we saw about the differences, that is, they are also called vascular cryptogams. They have the xylem and phloem, and main other differentiation is the true leaves, stem, and root. And then about the reproduction, about the Antheridia, Archegonia, and how the spores are formed, and about the sporophytic plant body. And then the gametophytic plant body is called the prothallus, and about what are the classes that comes under the Pteridophytes: Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Spinopsida, and Pteropsida. So I hope you're clear with it, and we'll discuss few questions. So what is the importance of Pteridophytes? They are used for medical purposes. They are used as soil binders. They are frequently grown as ornamental plants. So what is the answer? Yes, good, Karunya, D. So D is the correct option because they are used for everything, for medical purposes, soil binders, and they are frequently grown as ornamental plants. Choose the incorrect statement. All pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places. Some pteridophytes may flourish well in shady soil condition. Most of the pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady place. A very few pteridophytes are hydrophytes. So, which is the incorrect statement? Yeah, good. Because not all pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places. Most of the pteridophytes is the correct statement. So, A is the correct answer. Plant body in pteridophytes is whether it is a sporophyte, that is diploid, having no root, stem, and leaf, whether it is a gametophyte, haploid, having root, stem, and leaf, or C, gametophyte having no root, stem, and leaf, D, sporophyte, diploid, having true root, stem, and leaf. So the correct option is D. Yeah, good. Because the plant body is a sporophyte. Plant body is a sporophyte. Diploid, it has the true root, stem, and leaf. Yes. Leaves bearing sporangium or sporophylls. So we saw that sporophylls are nothing but leaves that have sporangium. Some pteridophytes, sporophylls form compact structure called. So what will they form? Yes, B. Good. They form the strobilus or cone. B is the, it's not sporocarp, it's not a spike or the flower. The fifth question, prothallus in pteridophyte is, it is a non-vascular, haploid, multicellular, small, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte, or it is vascular, haploid, multicellular sporophyte, or diploid, free-living gametophyte. Is thallus or a plant body in same pteridophyte? So what is prothallus? Yeah, good. It's A option. I hope you're clear with the concept, right? So prothallus in pteridophyte is actually non-vascular because it is the first structure that is forming from the spore. This is non-vascular and it is haploid, multicellular, small, and they can photosynthesize on its own. And it is not a well-differentiated structure, so it is a thalloid and it is a gametophyte. So A is the correct option in this. Which one is wrongly matched? I think yesterday we saw, right, Gemmacups. Gemmacups are present in Martensia. Biflagellate zoospores are present in brown algae, that is Pteridophytes, and uniflagellate gametes are present in Polysiphonia, and unicellular organism, example, Chlorella. So which one is wrongly matched in this? Yes, option C, good. So all these are correct. That is Martensia. This also, but in the case of Polysiphonia, what has to come? It is a red algae. So here they are non-motile actually. They don't have flagella, but here it is written as uniflagellate gametes. So this is wrongly matched. So C is the correct option. The heterosporous pteridophytes are. So what is the heterosporous condition? That is, they form two types of spores. So heterosporous pteridophytes are, yes, C. Good. Salaginella and Salvinia. They contain two types of spores. Next. Cone is found in Equisetum, Salvinia, Salaginella, both A and C. Yes, D. Good. So cone is found in both Equisetum and Salaginella. So D is the correct option. Sporophyte is dominant phase in pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms, and all. So which is the correct answer in this? Yes, D. Good. In all. Next question. In heterosporous pteridophytes, the gametophyte may be monoecious or dioecious. Or dioecious is always dioecious. Is vascular. It has root and leaves. Hence, independent. So which is the correct answer for this? The case of heterosporous pteridophytes. Yes, answer B is correct. Good. So I hope you're clear with the concept, right, Garunya? So if it is an homosporous, means it is always monoecious, and if it is an heterosporous, it is always dioecious. Yeah. Okay, then we'll see a few more questions regarding pteridophytes and also bryophytes. Okay. That is in the case of Pteridophyta, vascular cryptogams or seedless vascular plants belongs to Bryophyta, 1 Bryophyta, 2 Pteridophyta, 3 Thallophyta, then 4 Spermatophyta. So which one will be the correct answer in this? Vascular cryptogams or seedless vascular plants. Are you able to follow? Vascular cryptogams. That is the first question. So vascular cryptogams are also seedless vascular plants. Or seedless vascular plants belongs to 1 Bryophyta, 2 Pteridophyta, 3 Thallophyta, 4 Spermatophyta. A is Bryophyta option. So whether Bryophyta will come under vascular cryptogams? So it's option B, Pteridophytes. Are you clear? Bryophytes are non-vascular. They don't have vascular tissues. Only pteridophytes have vascular tissues. So pteridophytes are called vascular cryptogams. And it is also called seedless vascular plants. Why are we saying it is seedless vascular plants? So in the next category, actually vascular plants, it includes pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. But here it is seedless vascular plant is what it is, pteridophyte. Because the other gymnosperms and angiosperms, they will have seeds. So pteridophyte is the correct option. Option B is the correct option. Okay. So pteridophytes are vascular cryptogams and also seedless vascular plants. Okay, then we'll go to the next question. Roots first originated in A, algae, B, fungi, 3 Bryophyta, and then 4 is Pteridophyta. Roots first originated in true roots. Yeah, good. It is Pteridophyta. Then the next question. In Pteridophyta, reduction division occurs when? That is in Pteridophytes, when the reduction division will occur. First option is prothallus is formed. 2 spores are formed. 3 sex organs are formed. 4 gametes are formed. So which will be the correct option? So shall I say it again? In the case of pteridophytes, the reduction division occurs when? So when the reduction division will occur? First option, prothallus is formed. Second, spores are formed. And 3, sex organs are formed. And gametes are formed. So the correct option will be, actually it is B. So when meiosis occurs to form the spores, haploid spores, that is the diploid to haploid. So spores are formed. The reduction division occurs when spores are formed. When the prothallus is formed means it is a gametophyte. So there will be no reduction division. Gametophyte that grows towards, that is spore develops into a prothallus. And also when sex organs are formed, there is no meiosis there. So the reaction division occurs only when spores are formed. B is the correct option. Okay, are you able to follow? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Yeah. The main plant body of pteridophytes is A, sporophyte, then second option is gametophyte, third option is haploid, fourth option is none of the above. Main plant body of pteridophytes is, so what is the main plant body? Yeah, good, it is a sporophyte. Then the next question is cryptogamic plants are first option seedless, second embryoless, third leafless, fourth rootless. Cryptogamic plants. So which one? Yeah, it is seedless. Yes, it is seedless. Seedless plants, we are calling it as a cryptogamic plant. So all algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes, they are called cryptogams. Plants having vascular tissues but lacking seeds, or that is, they have vascular tissues but they lack seeds. 1 bryophyta, 2 pteridophyta, 3 gymnosperms, 4 angiosperms. Yeah, B, pteridophytes. Heterospory occurs in 1 Salaginella, then Planidium, 3 Funaria and Rixia. So heterospory occurs in which one of the species? Yeah, Salaginella A, good. Then the anthrozoids of fern are 1 uniflagellate, 2 biflagellate, 3 quadriflagellate, 4 multiflagellate. So the anthrozoids in fern. So how the anthrozoids will be in fern? Uni, bi, quadri or multiflagellate. So are you able to understand the question? It is multiflagellate actually. So 4 is the correct option. Is it clear? So we saw, right, mostly in the case of bryophytes, we saw the biflagellate, but in the case of fern, it is multiflagellate. And here the Salaginella shows biflagellate. So you have to be clear with that. Okay. Then in pteridophytes, the spores germinate to form. First option Protonema, second option Prothallus, third option is Sporophyte, and fourth is Archegonium. So in pteridophytes, the spores germinate to form Protonema, Prothallus, Sporophyte, and Archegonium. So which will be the correct option in this? B. Yeah, good. So you see clearly what is given. For example, since it is in pteridophyte, it forms Prothallus. If it is a mass, it is a Protonema. So since it is a pteridophyte, Prothallus is the correct answer. Then the next question, the presence of motile stage in life cycle and requirement of water as a medium. The complete life cycle is the diagnostic characters of Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, and cryptogams. So which one will be the correct answer in this? Again, okay. The presence of motile stage in life cycle, that is the presence of motile cycle, that is the whether it is just a flagellated or not, and requirement of water as a medium to complete life cycle is diagnostic characters of whether it is a Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, and cryptogams. Water as a medium for which type of plants? Oh, actually, it is not only Bryophyta. We saw that water is required. That is algae, they are mostly aquatic. And for bryophytes also, actually they need water for fertilization. And even in the case of pteridophytes, though they are terrestrial, they need water for fertilization. So it is not completely evolved terrestrial plants. Only from gymnosperms, they don't need water for the fertilization. So here the correct option is option D, that is cryptogams. All the plants, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta, will come under cryptogams. So the correct option is cryptogams. Are you clear? Are you clear with this? Yeah. Cryptogams, they need water as a medium, and also they need the motile stage in the life cycle. That is the anthrozoid. The anthrozoid is actually the anthrozoid is the motile stage, and they require water as a medium to complete life cycle, and is a characteristic feature of cryptogams. Okay. Then the young fern leaves and rhizome are protected by root cap and 2 ramenta roots and 4 leaf bases. So which will be the correct answer for this? The young fern leaves and rhizome are protected by root cap, ramenta, roots, and leaf bases. Ramenta, yeah, just now we saw, right? The case of ferns, leaves and rhizome are protected by. And in ferns, the permanent roots are, first is the taproot, and second is the adventitious roots, and third is the tuberous roots, and fourth is rhizome. So which will be the correct answer in this? In ferns, the permanent roots are taproot, adventitious roots, tuberous roots, and rhizome. So option A, that is taproot, adventitious roots. So taproot, adventitious root, tuberous roots, and rhizome. So what will be the answer? Yeah, adventitious root. Then the next question is,
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm not able to see the question numbers, ma'am. It is in the 10th question number 10 only I can able to see.
sir, only that questions are
sorry.
over, sir. I'm using only this page.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, next question. We'll see. Independent alternation of generation is founded. That is Pteridophyta, Spermatophyta, Thallophyta, and Bryophyta. So what will be the option? That is the independent alternation of generation is found in Pteridophyta, Spermatophyta, Thallophyta, and Bryophyta. So shall I repeat the question? Independent alteration of generation is found in Pteridophyta, Spermatophyta, Thallophyta, and Bryophyta. So the correct option is A, Pteridophyta, because here if you take the bryophyte, there will be no independent alternation of generation. That is, the gametophytic phase is the dominant phase, and sporophyte is dependent on the gametophyte. So here the independent alternation of generation is found only in Pteridophyta. So it's clear, right? We'll go to the next question. In bryophytes, few questions. So the unique feature of bryophytes compared to other green plants is that they produce spores, they lack vascular tissue, they lack root, their sporophyte is attached to gametophyte. That is, they produce spores, they lack vascular tissue, they lack root, the sporophyte is attached to gametophyte, which is the unique feature among this. No, actually the unique feature here is there's no independent sporophyte. That is, the sporophyte is attached to the gametophyte. That is the correct option. The unique feature in the sense in what way it is different from that. So they produce spores and they lack the vascular tissues and they lack root. But here the sporophyte is attached to the gametophyte is the unique feature in the case of bryophytes. So is it clear, this question? So we'll go to the next question. In bryophytes, diploid number of chromosomes occurs in where the chromosomes will be diploid or 2n. That is in gametes, second option spores, third spore mother cells, and fourth one is nuclei of gametes. Where the diploid number will be. Yeah, spore mother cells. Good. In all the other cases, they are haploid. Gametes, spores are haploid, and nuclei of gametes are also haploid. The plant used as an alternative of cotton is sphagnum, funaria, riccia, and actria. So the plant which is used as an alternative of cotton. So which plant is used as an alternative of cotton? Option is sphagnum, funaria, riccia, and actria. It is sphagnum. We clear the sphagnum is very important because of its water holding capacity. So it is used as an alternative of cotton, sphagnum is. Then the next question is the anthrozoids of bryophytes possess. The first option is 2 flagella or 1 flagella, multiflagella or no flagella. Anthrozoids of bryophytes. Yeah, they are biflagellated. So A is the correct option. Good. Then the group Bryophyta includes option A, liverworts and ferns, and second, liverworts and club moss, and third, moss and ferns, and fourth is liverworts and moss. So which will be the correct option for this? D. Yeah, good, liverworts and moss. And you have to be clear when the options are given as moss, because the moss, it comes under bryophytes. But the other types like Selaginella, and that is also called bird's nest moss, and those club moss. So the club moss and all, it has the vascular tissues. So it comes under the vascular plant. So you have to be clear simply by seeing that term moss. We can't decide whether it is a bryophyte or a pteridophyte. Okay. Then the next question is the leafy non-vascular plant with parasitic sporophytic generation should probably be classified in Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, and Spermatophyta. Okay, a leafy non-vascular plant. So non-vascular plants see it, and then with parasitic sporophytic generation. So what are the parasitic sporophytic generation means? The sporophytic generation is not independent. So it is dependent, that is parasitic. So it is seen in Bryophyta. Okay, good. Then the next question, Bryophyta includes first option, mosses, club mosses, spike mosses, all of the above. Bryophyta includes mosses, yeah, first option, mosses alone, not the other options. Then bryophytes differ from thallophytes in having embryo, rhizoids, sterile jacket around sex organs, all the above. The difference between bryophytes and thallophytes. Embryo, rhizoids, sterile jacket around the sex organs, and all the above. So which one will come? So the actual answer is D. Yeah, all the above, because all are differentiating factors. Thalaphyites, they doesn't form embryo, and rhizoids are not present, and even around the sex organ, sterile jacket is not present. So all the above is the correct option. Then which of the following bryophytes there are gemmae, the means of vegetative reproduction? So which one has the means of vegetative reproduction? Rixia, Markensia, Sphagnum, Anthocerus. So gemmae are present in B. Yeah, Markensia. Good. Then in bryophytes, what is absent? Embryo formation, fertilization, motile gametes, true roots, and vascular tissues. So what is absent in bryophytes? Embryo formation, fertilization, motile gametes, true roots, and vascular tissue. So actually the correct answer here is true roots and vascular tissue. Yeah, D is the option, or absent in bryophytes, because they show embryo formation and fertilization is happening, and also motile gametes are present in bryophytes. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this, right? About the bryophytes and also pteridophytes. So you just go through it so that it will be easy for you to follow, and also try more questions related to this. You just write a table of all these classes. What are the classes that comes under the bryophytes and pteridophytes with the examples, so that also will be clear. So the concepts will be easy to study, but these examples you have to memorize that which class and what are the examples. So just to make a table and just go through it daily so that you will be familiar with those examples. So I think, and any doubts?